Yes, folks, we're back. All right, so after we're still reading part three, where the twins were tucked into bed after they heard the horrible news. They were given something to eat and tucked into bed. All right, so let's continue. My eyes met Christopher's. He seemed as caught in this nightmare as I was. His young face pale and shocked. A hollow look of grief shadowed his eyes and made them dark. One of the state troopers had gone out to his car, and now he came back with a bundle of things which he carefully spread out on the coffee table. I stood frozen, watching the display of all the things Daddy kept in his pockets. A lizard skinned wallet Mommy had given him as a Christmas gift, his leather notepad and date book, his wristwatch, his wedding band, and his wedding band. Everything was blackened and charred by smoke and fire. Last came the soft pastel animals meant for Corey and Carrie, all found, so the red-faced trooper said, scattered on the highway. A plushy blue elephant with pink velvet ears and a purple pony with a red saddle and golden reins. Oh, that just had to be for Carrie. Then the saddest article of all, Daddy's clothes, which had burst the confines of his suitcase when the trunk lock sprang. I knew those suits, those shirts, ties, socks. There, there was the same tie there was the same tie I had given him on his last birthday. Someone will have to identify the body, said the trooper. Now I knew positively it was real. Our father would never come home without presents for all of us, even on his own birthday. I ran from that room. I ran from all the things spread out that tore my heart and made me ache worse than any pain I had yet experienced. I ran out of the house and back into the back kitchen. And there I beat my fist upon an old maple tree. I beat my fist until they ached, and blood began to come from the many small cuts. Then I flung myself down on the grass and cried, and I cried, and I cried. 10 oceans of tears for Daddy, who should be alive. I cried for us, who would have to go on living without him. And the twins, they hadn't even had the chance to know how wonderful he was, or had been. And when my tears were over, and my eyes swollen and red, and hurt from the rubbing, I heard soft footsteps coming to me. My mother. She sat down on the grass beside me and took my hand in hers. A quarter horn moon was out, and millions of stars. And the breezes were sweet with the newborn fragrances of spring. Kathy, she said eventually, when the silence between us stretched so long it might never come to an end. Your father is up in heaven looking down on you, and you know he wouldn't want you to, and you know he would want you to be brave. He's not dead, Mommy, he's not dead, I denied. You've been out in this yard a long time. Perhaps you won't realize. Sorry, you've been out in this yard a long time. Perhaps you won't realize it's 10 o'clock. Someone had to identify your father's body. And though Jim Johnson offered to do this and spare me the pain, I had to see for myself. For you see, I found it hard to believe too. Your father is dead. Kathy, Christopher is crying. Christopher is on his bed crying, and the twins are asleep. They don't fully realize what dead means. She put her arms around me and cradled my head down on her shoulder. Come, she said, standing and pulling me up with her, keeping her arm around about my waist. You've been out here much too long. I thought you were in the house with the others, and the others thought you were in the room or with me. It's not good to be alone when you feel bereft. It's better to be with people and share your grief, and not keep it locked up inside. She said this dry-eyed with not a tear, but somewhere deep inside her she was crying, screaming. I could tell by her tone, by the very bleakness that had sunk deeper into her eyes. So that is ending of part 3 there. That's the ending of part 3. So we're going to just go into part 4. With our father's death, a nightmare began to shadow our days. I gazed reproachfully at Mommy and thought she should have prepared us in advance for something like this. For we'd never been allowed to own pets that suddenly pass away and teach us a little about losing through death. Some adult should have warned us that the young, the handsome, and the needed can die too. How do you say things like this to a mother who looked like fate was pulling her through a knothole and stretching her out thin and flat? Could you speak honestly to someone who didn't want to talk or eat or brush her hair or put on the pretty clothes that filled her closet? Nor did she want to attend to our needs. It was a good thing the kindly neighborhood women came in and took us over, bringing with them food prepared in their own kitchens. Our house filled to overflowing with flowers, with homemade casseroles, hams, hot rolls, cakes, and pies. They came in droves. All the people who loved and admired and respected our father. And I was surprised he was so well known. Yet I hated it every time someone asked how he died, and what a pity someone so young should die, when so many who were useless and unfit lived on and on and on, and were a burden to society. From all that I heard and overheard, fate was a grim reaper, never kind, with little respect for who was loved and needed. Spring days passed on toward summer, and grief, no matter how you try to cater to its wail, has a way of fading away, and the person so real, so beloved, becomes a dim, slightly out of focus shadow. So I guess they always say, after when somebody dies and people will come around and show their respect and tell how sorry they are, and then as time goes by, and after a time people just forget and that's it. You don't even remember some people don't remember to come and say, how you're doing, still check up on you long after the person has died. But I guess that's most humans. Where were we? Yeah, out of the shadow. One day, Mommy sat so sad-faced that she seemed to have forgotten how to smile. Mommy, I said brightly, in an effort to cheer her up, I'm going to pretend Daddy is still alive and away on another one of his business trips, and soon he'll come and stride in the door, and he'll call out, just as he used to, come and greet me with kisses if you love me. And don't you see? We'll feel better, all of us, like he is alive somewhere, living where we can't see him, but where we can expect him at any moment. No, Kathy, No, Kathy, Mommy flared. You must accept the truth. You are not to find solace in pretending. Do you hear that? Your father is dead, and his soul has gone on to heaven, and you should understand at your age that no one has ever come back from heaven. As for us, we'll do the best we can without him, and that doesn't mean escaping reality by not facing up to it. I watched her rise from her chair and begin to take things from the refrigerator to start breakfast. Mommy, Mommy, I began, feeling my way along cautiously, lest she turn hard and angry again. Will we be able to go on without him? I will do the best I can to see that we survive, she said. Dully, flatly. Will you have to go to work now like Mrs. Johnston? Maybe, maybe not. Life holds all sorts of surprises, Kathy, and some of them are unpleasant, as you are finding out. But remember always, you were blessed to have him for almost 12 years, a father who thought you were something. This is very weird. Here she telling her daughter, a father who thought you were something special. This is a weird mom. Anyhow, but remember, let me just pick up back from this part here. I don't want to confuse you guys. Will you have to go to work now, like Mrs. Johnston? Maybe, maybe not. Life holds all sorts of surprises, Kathy, and some of them are unpleasant, as you are finding out. But remember, always you are blessed to have him for almost 12 years. A father who thought you were something very special. Because I look like you, I said, still feeling some of that envy I always had. Because I came in second after her. Don't know if you folks picking up on something there, but yeah, as we go further into the story, we'll see. Alright, so let us stop there. Let's pause there. So this is part 4. So let's pause here and then we'll be back shortly. So pause here.